Listen, a guy who's hard or a bad guy, the reality of it is if you understand a little bit psychology or understand people, that person's wounded. He got hurt, experienced certain kinds of traumas, and his defense mechanism was to become hard and build a character that's impenetrable. And so we start from a trauma. So there's something broken. So the trauma is pushing you. You're not resolving the trauma. It's pushing you to build a defense mechanism. The defense mechanism is not the solution. So the trauma creates an out of balanceness, and the energy of out of balance now starts to take you on a journey, and you build the character. And the character just starts to grow and grow and grow, and it starts to have a life of its own. And then your character starts to receive rewards, a certain kind of rewards. So it nourishes it. So you want more. And the more you take your character further, the further you get away from your trauma, the more you're under the impression that you're empowered. But the reality is that this so-called bad guy is hurt. So for him to let go of the character or to exhale, or in other words, to be sensitive, means he has to go back to the pain. And he doesn't want to do that. Of course not, because he loses everything. He goes to the point of origin where he's broken. And he doesn't have a reason to trust a man or a woman because his experience with both men, his mom and his father, is trauma. So then you're going to have a certain kind of woman who's going to want to save him. Well, no, she wants to eat. That's my opinion, right? But there's still an element in women that have a heart, are caring, they can feel the hardness of it, and that there's a suffering child, but she wants to be your mommy now. And you know exactly what mommy's going to do. She's going to remove the tension, the character, and then go feed on the broken child. So why would that hard guy want to go back to the trauma unless there's a wisdom in them and they understand that it's not real? Generally, they don't. Maybe if they're lucky, they'll find some kind of balance, do a little bit of work, if we can say it like this, to kind of like a little harmonize themselves. But at the core, they're hard. And on the other side, you have the guy who is supposedly the good guy. That's the guy who's traumatized. Everything about him in his primal nature was condemned, and that they opted to protect themselves to become unmenacing. If you're unmenacing, nobody wants to kick your ass, nobody wants to hurt you. You can't upset women, they can't call the police on you. You can't have any problems. That's a defense mechanism also. If you remove the limpness, you have a fucking raging animal, full of anger and resentment, and is upset and angry, and could hurt you, and will, unconsciously and via covert means. And underneath all of that, of course, you have a person who's wounded and hurt. So in both cases, you have men who are in pain. And this would apply with women a little differently, but it's the same. At the core, you have a broken person, a person who's hurt. And how they respond will dictate their lives. So when you have a guy who's soft, limp, and I want to be tougher. Well, how? Where from? Being tough is you're scared of it, and you should be. And if you remove the limpness, and you go a little deeper, and you're gonna see a raging animal in a tantrum. So this is what your average individual has to contend with. And of course, like I said, people are psychophobes. They have a fear of their psyche. They have a fear of what lives inside of them. Most of your average person doesn't want to deal with that stuff. Maybe at some point when you realize how deranged your life is, you want to do a little bit of work, like it's barely scratching the surface. Congratulations, you've scratched the surface, but still nothing. People are scared of that core trauma. They should. It's going to reconfigure your way of understanding yourself, your life, your relations with everybody, your relations with women, men, family, friends, society, life in general. It's going to change your entire life. So obviously people they have a lot to lose. The bad guy has a lot to lose, and the so-called good guy has a lot to lose. Then they have to face the unknown. They have to face different variables. If the so-called bad guy removes his shell, he's going to feel vulnerable. He's going to have to learn a different way of protecting himself, a different way of moving, a different way of interacting. Which doesn't mean he cannot use the shield of the hardness if chosen, but at this current stage, he's a slave of it. I can be hard if I want to. If somebody punches me, I can protect myself. That's a form of shell, isn't it? Right? But imagine you're stuck in a shell all the time. How do you live? Where's fluidity? So this takes us into a little more profound subjects, but I guess I answered the question. The woman who wants the so-called bad guy wants to get high. You can tell. The woman knows that this is a broken boy. At the womb level. She doesn't fucking care. She wants to get high. So when you now leech on to a guy who's intoxicated, who's on cocaine, inner cocaine, like totally deranged, she gonna get high. She gonna get high through all kinds of chaotic experiences he's gonna generate. She's gonna get high because he's always on the go, always doing something, even if it's going nowhere, which means we're gonna go out, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, he's trying to impress me, he's gonna pick a fight. This is all substances. It's gonna intoxicate you. She's gonna go on trips, she's gonna be tripping. And at some point, she gets exhausted. Dump that one, try to get a new one. Another kind of high, a Mexican version, or an African American version, or an Arab version, or whatever fucking version, different kinds of versions. It's always the same thing. It's going to take her on a trip. Now, if the girl is sober-minded, she's not looking to go, that's going to take you out of balance. She's not looking for something that takes her out of balance. Now, the guy on the other side, we traditionally call the simp, the good guy, he also going to offer her a trip. It's just a deflating trip. It's we're going to be on the couch and do nothing trip. The opposite version. We're like in a haze. Ain't nothing going on. We overate, overwatch TV, over-ejaculated, and we're just empty. So that's a form of peace. It's not peace, and this is not, that's a form of exhilaration. It's not true flow. It's forced. It's deranged. And this is not peace. This is emptiness and boredom because there's no vitality, and this is non-creative. This is not creative energy. This is chaos. This is insane. This is not peace. This is madness. So what kind of girl selects that? A girl who herself is out of balance, for some time is looking for exhilaration to get high, then she gets exhausted, then the swing of the pendulum is, that guy. Because you can't, it'll be that guy. She goes home and she has her teddy bear. Generally, she has a life outside. She has a career, she has a job, which in certain circumstances create a form of exhilaration, a high. She has to work, there's demands, there's a boss. If there's a company and the company succeeds, it's go, 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 push, push, push. Then she goes home, she wants to be knocked out on the couch with her passive boyfriend who's not going to demand anything. If we were in the presence of a sane woman, the sane woman would never accept to do anything that takes her out of balance. In a sane society where there's an understanding what health actually is, people are looking for harmony. Harmony means you need to know who you are, you need to know what you're designed to do, and then you need to invest your life to master your craft, which means learning a bunch of things, including how to work and collaborate with other people. And the more your craft expands, the more you are interacting with other crafts, right? Because everything interconnects. Fine. But the purpose is always harmony. In our modern world, there's no such thing as harmony. Nobody even understands what that means. So what people are doing is just expending themselves. And for them, that's energy. For them, that's success. For them, that's money. For them, that's being amazing, fulfillment. But at the end of the day, what's the result? Their battery empties. They go out of balance. Disease emerges. They don't know where it comes from. We blame a virus that never existed in the first place. And this is the wheel. And then you go through another emotion. Now you have so-called cancer. More high. Intoxication. Imagine, man. Imagine the trip you go on. These are trips. Tell me it's not. So I ain't no specialist of LSD, but let's pretend you take LSD and you start tripping. You look at an ant and suddenly your brain distorts it into a monster that attacks you. You're on a trip right now. It's very real for you. And it generates all the hormonal responses and the nervous responses of you're on trip. This literally called you tripping. So if you stop and analyze people's experiences in their everyday lives, what is it? It's trips. It's always a trip. Everything is a trip that is generated by a mind that's out of balance, that is looking for a trip in order to have a sense of movement, energy, and fulfillment. It wants to feel aggrandized and have a sense of importance. That's what everybody tripping on. That's the opposite of health. Anyways, I digress. Super important digression, but nevertheless I digress. So if you analyze a woman's actions in regards to the so-called good guy and the bad guy's taking her on a trip, then she wants to compensate with the low. She takes an upper, then she takes a lower. If she was sober, she would not accept that. She would not accept this guy or that guy because this guy's taking me out of balance and this guy's taking me out of balance. Having no purpose to life and being bored out of your brain, stagnancy is the word, it's not peace. It makes you insane. And using recklessly your creative energy makes you insane. So this brings us to a subject which is much more complex, which is, well, what's happening to you, to people, what's happening to men, what's happening to women in this particular day and age, which we've covered in various other videos. This is a complex, profound subject. It's an existential subject, which doesn't take you into the realm of empty thoughts. It's just, this is real, what's going on. Well, humanity it's sick, but I don't want to go into that direction. It just points to the fact that, well, a sane person wouldn't accept that, but people aren't sane. And then being that there's no inner substance, you need to feed. So you'll take what you can. Understandable. Now, as a man, you're intelligent enough to understand this. And why would I want to be this guy or that guy? I don't want to be a good guy. I don't want to be the bad guy. Because I'm not a good guy nor the bad guy. First of all, you know what? I want harmony for myself. So what's harmony? These are questions we've addressed when we speak about health that your average guy has no sense of, because health for him is gym, looking good and big muscles, which I respect, but has nothing to do with health per se. Health is an inner state that expresses itself outside. So I seek harmony. So harmony isn't a flaccidity and an extreme tension. That's insane. That's exhausting. And if you live like this for a couple of years, when you reach, I don't know, you can see the kids are already exhausted. They reach their 20s, they're exhausted. At 30, you're totally, everything's been sucked out of your land. You ain't got nothing left. What kind of life is this? Of course that's going to generate all kinds of diseases that are in reality symptoms that you call disease. Of course. And more importantly, you never find what you're looking for. You don't find any satisfaction. You got conned.